In the frozen expanse of the Arctic, a geopolitical drama is unfolding that could reshape the Western alliance and redraw the map of North America. Greenland, the world's largest island, sits at the crossroads of great power competition, holding both strategic position and untapped riches beneath its ice sheets. Since January 2025, President Donald Trump has repeatedly stated that the United States must acquire Greenland by purchase, negotiation, or force. Following Operation Absolute Resolve, the military capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro on January 3, 2026, global attention has turned to whether Greenland could be next. This analysis examines how the United States could hypothetically capture Greenland, drawing lessons from recent operations and analyzing the strategic calculus involved. To understand why Greenland matters, one must first grasp its unique geography and strategic position in the Arctic. Greenland spans over 2 million square kilometers, making it larger than 6 Germanys or 2 Alaskas combined. Yet this massive territory is home to only 57,000 people, most of whom are concentrated in small settlements along the coast. The island's capital, Nuuk, lies closer to New York at 2,900 kilometers than to Copenhagen, which sits 3,500 kilometers away. Geographically, Greenland is part of North America, though politically it remains a semi-autonomous territory of the Kingdom of Denmark. The island sits astride the shortest air and missile routes between North America and potential adversaries in Europe and Asia. Russian intercontinental ballistic missiles targeting the American heartland would pass directly over Greenlandic airspace. Chinese submarines seeking access to the Atlantic would need to transit the GIUK Gap, the strategic choke point between Greenland, Iceland, and the United Kingdom. For decades, the United States has recognized Greenland's strategic value, maintaining a military presence there since World War II. Pituffik Space Base, formerly known as Thule Air Base, stands as the northernmost American military installation on Earth. Located 750 miles north of the Arctic Circle, Pituffik hosts critical radar systems for detecting ballistic missile launches over the polar region. The base's upgraded early warning radar can track intercontinental missiles and monitor objects in Earth's orbit. Currently, approximately 150 American personnel operate the facility under the 1951 Greenland Defense Agreement with Denmark. Beyond its military significance, Greenland holds extraordinary mineral wealth that has captured Washington's attention. Beneath the ice lie deposits of 25 of the 34 minerals the European Commission classifies as critical raw materials. These include rare earth elements essential for manufacturing computer chips, electric vehicles, and advanced weapons systems. The United States Geological Survey estimates Greenland's offshore waters contain 17.5 billion barrels of crude oil. An additional 4.19 trillion cubic meters of natural gas may rest beneath the Arctic seabed surrounding the island. As climate change accelerates, these resources become increasingly accessible, transforming Greenland from an icy wasteland into a treasure chest. President Trump has explicitly linked American national security to controlling these strategic assets. The administration argues that an independent or foreign-influenced Greenland could fall under Russian or Chinese sway, threatening the American homeland. Russian vessels have increased their Arctic presence, conducting patrols and exercises in waters near Greenland. China, despite being thousands of miles away, has declared itself a near-Arctic state and pursued investment opportunities in Greenlandic mining. The Trump administration views these developments as intolerable threats to Western Hemisphere security. Any military operation to seize Greenland would build upon lessons learned from Operation Absolute Resolve in Venezuela. That operation demonstrated the overwhelming capabilities the United States can bring to bear when it decides to act. On January 3, 2026, 150 American aircraft launched from 20 different bases across the Western Hemisphere. F-22 Raptors, F-35 Lightning IIs, F-A-18 Super Hornets, and B-1 Lancers formed a coordinated strike package. Delta Force operators, accompanied by FBI agents, executed a precision raid on Venezuelan President Maduro's residence. The operation lasted approximately 2 hours and 28 minutes, culminating in Maduro's capture and extraction to custody, aboard USS Iwo Jima. American cyber capabilities plunged Caracas into darkness, while electronic warfare systems neutralized Venezuelan air defenses. Since you've made it this far, you're clearly enjoying the content, so why not hit subscribe and drop a like? It really helps out. All right, let's keep going. The attack demonstrated integration across all military domains: air, space, cyber, and special operations. General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, described it as one of the most stunning displays of American military might in history. Operation Rising Lion, Israel's June 2025 strike against Iran, provides another template for understanding modern military operations. Israeli forces deployed over 200 aircraft against more than 100 targets across Iran in a single night. Pre-positioned drones and special operations forces had prepared the battlefield months in advance. Mossad had infiltrated Iran's air defense networks, enabling Israeli aircraft to operate with near impunity. The simultaneous elimination of senior military commanders created paralysis in the Iranian chain of command. These operations reveal that modern warfare combines overwhelming conventional firepower with precise intelligence and covert preparation. A hypothetical American operation against Greenland would likely follow similar principles, adapted to the Arctic environment. However, any such operation would face unique challenges posed by Greenland's extreme geography and climate. The island's eastern coast, covered by the second-largest ice sheet on Earth, is virtually unconquerable according to Danish military officials. Mountainous terrain, harsh weather, and complete absence of infrastructure make large-scale military operations exceptionally difficult. Temperatures can plunge to -40 degrees, while polar darkness blankets the region for months during winter. The construction season for any military infrastructure lasts only a few summer months before Arctic ice returns. All supplies and reinforcements would need to arrive by sea during the brief ice-free period or by air to limited airfields. Despite these challenges, the United States already possesses a significant foothold: Pituffik Space Base in northwestern Greenland. The base features a 10,000-foot runway and the Department of Defense's northernmost deep-water port. In October 2025, American forces conducted Operation Noble Defender, surging F-35s and F-16 to Pituffik for Arctic exercises. These exercises demonstrated the ability to rapidly reinforce the installation and project air power across Greenlandic territory. Any American seizure operation would likely begin with the rapid reinforcement of Pituffik as a primary staging area. Transport aircraft could deliver thousands of additional troops within hours of a presidential order. KC-135 tankers would enable fighter aircraft to maintain continuous combat air patrols over the entire island. Naval forces, including aircraft carriers and amphibious assault ships, could position off Greenland's coast within days. The operation would then focus on securing key population centers and critical infrastructure. Nuuk, the capital with a population of approximately 19,000, represents the political and administrative heart of Greenland. Ilulissat, Sisimiut, and Qaqortoq comprise the other major settlements, each home to only a few thousand residents. The entire Greenlandic population is smaller than that of a medium-sized American suburb. Special operations forces could secure these settlements with minimal resistance within hours of initial deployment. The key infrastructure targets would include airports, seaports, communication facilities, and government buildings. Greenland possesses only a handful of airports capable of handling large aircraft, making air access extremely limited. Control of these airfields would effectively give the United States dominion over movement across the island. Denmark, as the sovereign power over Greenland, would be the primary adversary in any American seizure operation. However, Denmark's military capabilities are extremely limited compared to the overwhelming power of the United States. The Danish armed forces comprise only approximately 20,000 active duty personnel across all services. A former Trump administration official noted that Denmark's active duty military is smaller than the New York Police Department. Denmark's entire surface fleet consists of fewer than 20 commissioned vessels, including frigates and patrol ships. The Royal Danish Air Force is transitioning from aging F-16s to a fleet of only 43 F-35 Lightning IIs. In Greenland itself, Danish military presence is minimal, consisting primarily of the Sirius Patrol and limited naval assets. The Sirius Patrol uses dog sleds to monitor northeastern Greenland, a romantic but militarily insignificant capability. President Trump once mocked Danish security efforts by claiming Denmark had only added one more dog sled to protect Greenland. In January 2025, Denmark announced a 14.6 billion kroner investment to strengthen Arctic defense capabilities. This package includes 3 new Arctic patrol vessels, long-range surveillance drones, and enhanced satellite coverage. By October 2025, Denmark expanded this investment to 42 billion kroner, adding more ships and a specialized Arctic unit. Despite these investments, Denmark could not defend Greenland against determined American military action. Danish officials have privately acknowledged that they lack the capability to repel American forces. In September 2025, Denmark conducted Exercise Arctic Light, its largest ever military operation in Greenland. The exercise involved 550 troops from Denmark, France, Germany, Sweden, and Norway. Notably, the United States was not invited to participate, signaling growing tensions between Copenhagen and Washington. The exercise focused on defending critical infrastructure and responding to destabilizing threats in the Arctic. However, military analysts assessed the drill as primarily political signaling rather than serious defensive preparation. Denmark's best defense would come not from military resistance but from invoking NATO's collective defense provisions. Greenland, as part of the Kingdom of Denmark, falls under NATO's Article 5 Mutual Defense Guarantee. An American attack on Greenland would constitute an attack on a fellow NATO member, creating an unprecedented alliance crisis. European leaders have repeatedly warned the Trump administration against threatening the sovereignty of allies. French President Emmanuel Macron stated that France would not tolerate American military intervention against European territory. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz declared that borders cannot be changed by force, signaling solidarity with Denmark. In February 2025, NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte privately suggested deploying NATO soldiers to Greenland to deter American aggression. 7 European nations, including France, Germany, and the United Kingdom, issued a joint statement defending Denmark's sovereignty. However, these statements carry little practical weight without military capabilities to back them up. European forces would face enormous logistical challenges in deploying to Greenland to oppose American power. The Trump administration has demonstrated willingness to act unilaterally regardless of Allied objections. Russia and China have watched developments around Greenland with strategic interest and concern. Russian presidential spokesman Dmitry Peskov declared the Arctic a zone of our national interests and called for maintaining the status quo. Putin himself assessed that Trump is serious about acquiring Greenland and would continue systematic efforts toward that goal. China has expressed concern that American control over Greenland would threaten emerging Polar Silk Road shipping routes. Beijing and Moscow have increased joint naval patrols and exercises in Arctic waters as a counter to American ambitions. Neither Russia nor China, however, would likely intervene militarily to prevent an American seizure of Greenland. Such intervention would risk direct military confrontation with the world's most powerful armed forces. Instead, both powers would likely exploit the diplomatic fallout to weaken American alliances and expand their own influence. The fracturing of NATO over Greenland would serve Russian strategic interests far more than any military response. Greenland itself has expressed no desire to join the United States, with its population consistently rejecting American overtures. Greenlandic Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen has firmly stated that Greenland is not for sale and will not be annexed. In April 2025, 4 of 5 parties in Greenland's parliament formed a coalition government explicitly opposing American acquisition. The Greenlandic independence movement seeks eventual separation from Denmark, not absorption into the United States. However, the Trump administration has shown little regard for Greenlandic public opinion in pursuing its objectives. Following Operation Absolute Resolve, White House aide Katie Miller posted an image of Greenland covered by the American flag with the caption, "Soon." The Greenlandic Prime Minister called this post disrespectful, stating that relations between nations must be built on mutual respect. Economic power provides the foundation upon which any American pressure campaign against Greenland would rest. The Trump administration has threatened Denmark with severe tariffs if it resists American efforts regarding Greenland. American economic leverage over both Denmark and Greenland could prove more decisive than military force alone. Institutional power enables the United States to frame its actions within legal and security frameworks. The administration has cited the Monroe Doctrine and national security imperatives to justify its Greenland ambitions. Political power shapes the international environment in which any such operation would occur. The willingness of other nations to oppose or acquiesce to American actions ultimately determines the costs involved. Should the United States decide to seize Greenland, the operation would likely unfold in distinct phases. The preparatory phase would involve diplomatic isolation of Denmark, combined with economic pressure through tariffs and sanctions. Intelligence assets would map Greenlandic infrastructure, monitor Danish military dispositions, and prepare information operations. The administration might engineer or exploit political crises within Greenland to justify intervention. The initial military phase would see rapid reinforcement of Pituffik Space Base with combat aircraft and ground forces. Cyber operations would neutralize Danish communication systems while psychological operations prepared the Greenlandic population. Special operations forces would secure key airports and government facilities in GIUK and other settlements. Marine expeditionary units could conduct amphibious landings at strategic coastal points if necessary. Air superiority would be established within hours, with Danish or Allied aircraft unable to challenge American control of Greenlandic airspace. The consolidation phase would involve establishing military government and securing critical infrastructure across the island. American forces would need to maintain security during the harsh Arctic winter when movement becomes extremely difficult. Political negotiations would determine the final status of Greenland, whether as a territory, state, or associated commonwealth. The entire operation could theoretically be completed within days, given the overwhelming military asymmetry involved. However, the true costs would be measured not in casualties, but in the destruction of alliances and international norms. NATO, the most successful military alliance in history, might not survive American aggression against a member state. European trust in American security guarantees would collapse, driving allies toward independent defense arrangements. China and Russia would benefit enormously from the fracturing of Western unity caused by such an operation. The principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity that underpin international order would suffer devastating damage. Ironically, seizing Greenland to counter Russian and Chinese influence might accomplish what those adversaries could never achieve alone. The United States already enjoys extensive access to Greenland through existing defense agreements with Denmark. Cooperative expansion of American presence would achieve security objectives without the catastrophic costs of coercion. History will judge whether American leaders chose the path of partnership or domination in securing the Arctic frontier. For now, Greenland remains frozen in uncertainty, its fate tied to decisions made in Washington, Copenhagen, and beyond. The world watches as great power competition converges on the world's largest island in one of Earth's harshest environments. What happens next in Greenland may well determine the shape of international order for decades to come. If you found this perspective valuable, consider subscribing. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I read every one of them. Thank you for watching.